Okay, we're into a third part here. Sorry about that. But still, there were so many possibilities that were left open. And if and when Disney had Capcom do this game, one of the last bosses of this game was the Collector. It's like, wait a minute. If this game takes place in the continuity of the Lucky Pakel era, why in the world is the Collector back? If the last time we saw him, he was revealed to be a geeky, nerdy human obsessed with collecting anything Toon related and believing he's a Toon. How the heck can he be back? Right? And again, that's what I think happened here. Because in my opinion, it was and I'm sure anybody else would agree, it was such an underwhelming revelation and such a downgrade of what could have been a badass villain. To me, it kind of left the door open to do so much more. You could have had him be so obsessive in believing he's a Toon that as he's in this prop box, all of a sudden, maybe through some Toon magic or whatever, he ends up becoming the Toon he was, or he was disguised of, but this time he's fully a Toon. He's not no, human in disguise or anything. He becomes a full, fleshed out Toon. And because of his time in the prop box, he becomes more powerful, more stronger, and he finds a way out, and he wants revenge on Bonkers and Lucky for what they did. And again, there's so much more they could have, and that's just an example of how much more they could have done. But they didn't. And just the ending, the revelation and ending with him being revealed as a geeky human in disguise that's obsessed with Toons and believes mentally he is a Toon, I don't know. I mean, obviously you could tell throughout, through the first part, throughout the first half of the pilot and everything, and even through the second half and all that, you could kind of tell that perhaps maybe he was an artist. Maybe he was some kind of artist for a studio that became, maybe even for the studio that Bonkers was part of, that he became such a fan of his that he couldn't stand being away from him or something. I mean, Disney could have done, even if it was subtle, could have done so much more with this character. So much more. And they could have made one of the Lucky episodes sort of another two-part deal where he comes back, like I mentioned. Maybe he becomes so integrated in the prop box that becomes the Toon he was, becomes more powerful, and he wants revenge. I mean, they could have worked with that. Heck, they could have even done that. They could have, this is the one thing about this, that they could have done. They could have created one last episode exclusively with Miranda, as part of the Miranda episodes. They could have done one last exclusive episode where you have the Collector come back, you have him wanting to have revenge, like I mentioned, have him come back the way I talked about, have him wanting revenge on Bonkers for what happened, and on Lucky, and this would bring Lucky back, and bring him back in the Miranda style, in sort of a style that's similar to what he was before, but sort of in that Miranda style and stuff like that. And you could have had you could have had all the other Toons involved. You could have had Farn involved, Jedda's involved, Grumble's involved, even Fall Apart, just have them all involved in this massive final confrontation with the Collector because of what he had done to them earlier, and them, in a sense, wanting payback themselves. But still, those are all could have beens and what could have beens and if have beens and should have beens and whatever, or would have been. And still, they never really capitalized on that. And to me, like I said, in the first two parts, in the second part I should say, it didn't really overall hurt the story presentation, except towards the end with that revelation. Because when one thinks about it, you present this character in such a badass way, to have him be defeated and revealed to have him end or be defeated like that, it's too underwhelming. It degrades a great potential villain character. But overall, besides that, and besides the some of the unnecessary and I guess at times necessary cuts and edits from the original uncut pilot airing, both whether you favor the uncut version or the edited version, the overall presentation of the story is not too bad. It really helps establish Bonkers from going. It really helps establish Bonkers from being going from a fired actor to being a cop, and it really establishes, in a sense, that he does, despite how Lucky might feel about him or his antics throughout the series or throughout the Lucky Pickell episodes, whether he embraces them or encourages them. Um, to me, it really shows that the character can grow, can be, like I say, can be an asset because he knows, like I mentioned earlier, I think in the second part, or the first part, that from a Toon's perspective, what could be right, what could be wrong, and he brings that Toon element that when it comes to police cases or cases involving Toons can really help in the end. Like I said though, overall with those edits, cuts, whatever you want to call it, despite how you see it, what version you see, the story overall, except for the ending with the villain, um, pretty much was pretty much good. Really, it really. I know I'm saying this a lot, saying this word a lot, but it really established um, the origin of how Bonkers went from being a star to being a cop. It really established um, again. It really established the partnership relationship between Lucky and Bonkers and how that evolved and how Lucky came to trust Bonkers, or mostly sometimes thanks to his family, and sometimes embrace the logic that Bonkers knew from a Toon's perspective. So I liked all that. I really did. I did like all that here in the pilot. So overall, not too bad. And I did like the little homage they made to the first featurette. I did like that because when you watch the pilot and you see Bonkers and his friends are filming a scene from a cartoon or a movie, instantly you notice that that movie or that cartoon that they're filming is the first appearance of Bonkers, the featurette Petal to the Metal. So I did like how they did that. I did like how they kind of paid homage to his first appearance by making that be the film or the cartoon, the short that they were working on at the time. Because you had several indications of how that was happening. I mean, you had you had like okay, it's like you had the one scene where they have Fall Apart stand in for Bonkers as a stunt double and get hit by the car. After that, they cut to the owner of the studio saying cut, cut again, and you instantly go to a scene where you have the director, the producers, and all that with Grumbles and Fawn. But if you kind of pause it a little bit when you transition to that scene, you see Fawn reading the script, because that's basically telling you, reading the script, for the scene that would come up later on in Pedal to the Metal, which is the bubble scene, the thought bubble scene with her and Bonkers. So, but overall, not too bad. Not too bad. And again, like I said, I like that homage to the first appearance, the featurette that came on before Three Ninjas. I did like that. I really did. Now, like I say, the ending with the villain was underwhelming, and I know the other part of the ending, where Bonkers looks like he's going back to Wacky Toon Studios, but remains as a cop because all of a sudden he pops out of a picture. I guess through some Toon magic, he's able to jump into one picture frame and into the picture he gave to Lucky or something like that. I don't really know. Toon logic, whatever you're going to call it. I know some people might say, well, what happened there? Did he turn him down? What did they do? Um, Obviously, if you want to look at it from a continuity standpoint, you might have made some kind of deal to finish up the last cartoon and that was it. I don't know. Um, but overall, as confusing as that ending might have been leading into the rest of the series, overall, that ending, along with the underwhelming revelation and ending for the villain, overall, besides those, the origin story, the pilot was pretty good, and I would recommend watching it. And I would recommend if you can find it, watching the uncut version because you get a little bit more in that, and it doesn't feel like things might be glossed over or something. So, but overall, that's my review, analysis, overview, whatever you want to call it. Excuse me, of Disney's Bonkers pilot movie, Going Bonkers. Again, I recommend watching it. If you want to watch it in its edited form, you can find it on YouTube. The unedited, you may have to torrent or something, or ask somebody around if they have it. But I would recommend watching that one probably more than the edited. But it's your decision. So that's all I'm gonna say. Let me know what you guys think down below. Sorry this was in 3 parts, and I'll talk to you all later.